On the morning of May 27, 2015, Swiss police arrived at the Bauer Olac Hotel in Zurich, one of the most exclusive hotels in Europe. They rode the elevator to the upper floors, and they arrested 7 men at 6 in the morning, still in their hotel robes. The men they arrested were not street criminals. They were FIFA officials, senior executives of the organization that controls the most popular sport on earth, football. The beautiful game, watched by billions of people in every country on the planet. The officials were arrested on charges that included racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering. The indictment had been prepared by the United States Department of Justice. The FBI had been investigating FIFA for years, and what they found was not a sports organization that had made some ethical mistakes. It was a criminal enterprise, operating in plain sight for decades, hidden behind the world's most beloved sport. Welcome back to Mysterious History, the channel where the official story is never the whole story. Today, we are doing something a little different. This is not an ancient mystery. This is not a lost civilization. This is recent history, documented history. History that the people involved spent enormous amounts of money and energy trying to hide. The corrupt history of FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, the organization that controls world football, that decides who hosts the World Cup, that controls billions of dollars in revenue every 4 years, and that for decades operated as one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet. Everything in this video is documented. Court records, FBI indictments, whistleblower testimony, investigative journalism. The official story of FIFA presents it as the guardian of the beautiful game. The real story is something else entirely. To understand the corruption, you need to understand how FIFA operates. FIFA was founded in Paris in 1904. 7 European nations. A simple organization to oversee international football. Today, it is unrecognizable from that modest beginning. FIFA has 211 member associations, more members than the United Nations. It generates billions of dollars in revenue around every World Cup cycle. The 2022 Qatar World Cup generated over $7 billion in revenue for FIFA. The organization is headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland. And here is the critical detail that enabled decades of corruption. FIFA is a non-profit organization under Swiss law. It pays no tax in Switzerland. It has historically operated with almost no external oversight. No government has jurisdiction over it. No independent auditor has full access to its books. It is answerable only to its own Congress, which is made up of the same member associations whose votes it needs to maintain power. It is a system designed, whether intentionally or not, to enable exactly the kind of corruption that eventually consumed it. The story of FIFA's corruption begins seriously with one man, João Havelange, a Brazilian sports administrator who became FIFA president in 1974 and held the position for 24 years. Havelange transformed FIFA from a modest European sports body into a global commercial empire. He expanded the World Cup. He brought in corporate sponsors. He signed television deals worth billions. And he built a patronage network of extraordinary reach and sophistication. Under Havelange, votes for FIFA decisions were bought and sold openly among the inner circle. Development money intended for football programs in poorer nations was diverted. Commissions on commercial contracts were paid to FIFA officials and their associates. Havelange's son-in-law, Ricardo Teixeira, became head of the Brazilian Football Confederation, a position he used to extract tens of millions of dollars in bribes from FIFA's commercial partners. In 2012, FIFA's own ethics committee found that Havelange and Teixeira had accepted bribes totaling over $40 million from a sports marketing company called ISL. ISL had held FIFA's commercial rights for years. It had paid bribes to secure them. And when ISL went bankrupt in 2001, the paper trail became impossible to ignore. Havelange resigned from his honorary FIFA presidency in 2013, rather than face a formal ethics hearing. He was 96 years old. He was never prosecuted. He died in 2016, unpunished. Havelange's successor was a Swiss administrator named Sepp Blatter. Blatter had worked at FIFA since 1975. He knew where every body was buried, literally and figuratively. He was elected FIFA president in 1998, and he would hold that position for 17 years. Under Blatter, the corruption did not end. It evolved, became more sophisticated, more global, more deeply embedded in the organization's structure. Blatter maintained his power through a simple and devastatingly effective system. FIFA's one nation, one vote structure meant that the votes of tiny island nations counted the same as the votes of football powerhouses like Brazil or Germany. Blatter cultivated the smaller member associations with development funds, gifts, and personal attention. He was extraordinarily good at politics, extraordinarily good at making people feel valued and important, and extraordinarily good at ensuring that the development money flowing to smaller associations came with an implicit understanding of loyalty. His rivals called it vote buying. His supporters called it development investment. The result was the same. Blatter won every election he entered, sometimes running unopposed, sometimes defeating challengers in circumstances that raised serious questions. The most damaging and most documented corruption in FIFA's history surrounds the awarding of World Cup hosting rights. The right to host a World Cup is worth billions in infrastructure investment, in tourism, in national prestige. Countries spend years and fortunes competing for the right. And the evidence suggests that for decades, the votes of FIFA Executive Committee members were for sale to the highest bidder. The 2010 World Cup vote awarded hosting to South Africa. Documents later revealed that $10 million was paid through FIFA to Caribbean football associations in a deal that investigators believed was connected to South Africa's bid. The payment was authorized by Blatter himself, according to testimony from a senior FIFA official. Blatter denied it. The 2018 and 2022 World Cup votes awarded hosting rights to Russia and Qatar, respectively. Both decisions were immediately controversial. Russia was awarded a tournament despite serious concerns about human rights and the country's record in international relations. Qatar was awarded a summer tournament in a country where summer temperatures regularly exceed 45 degrees Celsius. A country with no football tradition, no existing stadium infrastructure, and serious human rights concerns regarding the migrant workers who would build the venues. Subsequent investigations revealed extensive evidence of vote buying surrounding both decisions. Multiple FIFA officials were found to have received payments connected to the bidding process. The extent of the corruption surrounding the Qatar bid, in particular, has never been fully established. But what has been established is damning enough. The United States Department of Justice began investigating FIFA corruption in 2012, working with the FBI and the IRS. The investigation focused on payments made through American banks and American financial institutions, which gave U.S. authorities jurisdiction over crimes committed by a Swiss organization operating in global football. The investigation was painstaking. It took 3 years, and it produced one of the largest international corruption indictments in history. On May 27, 2015, the arrests at the Bao au Lac Hotel announced to the world that the reckoning had arrived. The indictment named 47 individuals and organizations. Charges included racketeering, wire fraud, money laundering, and bribery. The total amount of bribes alleged in the initial indictment exceeded $150 million. Subsequent indictments added more defendants, more charges, more money. Sepp Blatter was not among those arrested that morning. But 4 days later, he announced his resignation as FIFA president, a position he had held for 17 years. He claimed he was stepping down for the good of football. In 2015, FIFA's own ethics committee banned him from football for 8 years, later reduced to 6 years on appeal. He was never criminally convicted. He was investigated by Swiss authorities for criminal mismanagement. The case was eventually dropped. Sepp Blatter is still alive, still occasionally making public comments about football, still unpunished in any meaningful sense. The corruption surrounding FIFA's decisions is not just about money. It has a human cost that is rarely discussed in mainstream sports coverage. The decision to award the 2022 World Cup to Qatar resulted in one of the largest construction projects in modern history. 8 new stadiums, an entire new city, hundreds of kilometers of roads and rail, all built in less than 12 years. All built using migrant workers from South Asia and Africa operating under a system called kafala, a sponsorship system that tied workers to their employers in conditions that human rights organizations described as modern slavery. Workers had their passports confiscated. They could not change jobs or leave the country without employer permission. They lived in overcrowded labor camps in extreme heat. They were paid poverty wages months late, if at all. The Guardian newspaper investigated the death toll among migrant workers building World Cup infrastructure. Their investigation found that over 6,000 workers from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka had died in Qatar since the World Cup was awarded in 2010. 6,000 people. The Qatari government disputed these figures. FIFA largely avoided the question. The tournament was held. The matches were played. The world watched. And the workers who built the stadiums remained largely invisible. FIFA was founded to protect and promote the world's most beautiful game. Instead, for decades, it operated as a criminal enterprise that enriched its officials at the expense of football and the people who love it. World Cups were sold to the highest bidder. Development money was stolen from the nations that needed it most. Workers died building stadiums for a tournament awarded through bribery. And almost nobody in a position of real power has faced meaningful justice. Havelange died unpunished. Blatter lives in comfortable retirement. The organization that enabled decades of corruption reformed itself just enough to satisfy its commercial partners and continued. The beautiful game survived. It always does. Because football belongs to the fans, to the people in the stands and the streets and the living rooms around the world. Not to the men in suits in Zurich hotel rooms. But as long as billions of people love football, the organization that controls it will be worth corrupting. And the story we told today will not be the last chapter. Subscribe to Mysterious History for new mysteries every week. The official story is never the whole story. Coming up next on Mysterious History, on March the 8th, 2014, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 people vanished from radar mid-flight. No distress call, no wreckage for over a year, and an official investigation that raised more questions than it answered. What really happened to MH370? Next week on Mysterious History.